We are joined now by longtime boxing television producer David Dinkins Jr. He is now a senior vice president for Showtime Sports and a man that actually spoke with Ali. He's had some time with him before a fight.
Yes, my first experience with Ali was before the rematch with Spinks. I was a fledgling production assistant at ABC Sports, and we're going to televise the weigh-in before the event. It was going to be a mega event at the Superdome, primetime boxing, huge card. But this was a special afternoon presentation of the weigh-in. And I, as a production assistant, my job was to get Ali in the seat, ready for the interview with Cosell. And he was very professional, got there on time, very quiet, very composed. And as soon as the light went on, electric. He lit up the entire room.
Yeah.
He was a showman. He was the greatest.
Yeah. A kinetic personality.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain to young people now because he's so beloved globally.
Yeah.
What a polarizing figure he was in the 1960s.
That's a very interesting point. When you look at some of the heroes that have come from sport and transcended the sport, you look at Jackie Robinson, Althea Gibson, Jesse Owens. At the time that they were making these remarkable accomplishments, people understood what they were doing.
Yes.
At the time that Ali was making his stand, it was very polarizing, as you suggest. And I think in retrospect, people realize now the courage that it took for him to do what he did.
You talk about what he did. I mean, refusal to be drafted in Vietnam, rejection of racial integration at a time when everyone was saying this is the popular thing.
Yeah.
How was it that he was able to be so different in that crowd?
Well, I think he stuck to his convictions. I think when he first converted to Islam, people forget that that was a very polarizing thing too, especially in the black community. People weren't quite sure what to think. And to people in the white community, it was scary.
Yeah.
You look at what's going on now. Back then, people knew even less about the religion, and it was something that he felt very strongly about. And that's what led him to his stand against the war.
Right. Well, and it cost him seriously because he ended up being stripped of his title.
Yeah.
You know, he lost the opportunity to fight. He was attacked by both blacks and whites, and yet maintained this presence. And what do you think drove that?
Again, Anthony, I think it's the belief in yourself, the belief in your convictions that you're doing the right thing. Because it doesn't matter then what anybody else thinks. Because you know in your heart, you know in your soul that you're doing the right thing. And thankfully, as time went on, his belief was justified and he got the recognition that he deserved.
You know, the New York Times had such a lovely sentence. They said he was more than the sum of his athletic gifts.
Yeah.
But when you look at just those athletic gifts, what made him stand out so much in the ring? What was so great about watching him?
Well, at the time he came along, he had a perfect blend of size, speed, talent, tenacity. People think about the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, but he was a tough guy. The rope-a-dope stuff, that you have to be tough to do that. And a lot of people think that that toughness is what cost him eventually.
Right.
And led to him being afflicted with Parkinson's.
One of the most interesting things I ever thought he said, and I mean, I grew up when he was emerging, and he was such a conflicting figure. You didn't know what to make of him, but you couldn't take your eyes off him. You know, after he won the super title, he said, I don't have to be who you want me to be. Yeah. And that, to me, was the thing that really stuck out with him.
Yeah.
He challenged everybody.
Well, but again, I think he stuck by his guns. He stood by his convictions, and he won us all over. Yeah. You know, people that would have found his positions contrary to theirs, eventually they even respected him for the courage of his convictions.
Right. It's so amazing how far he came in the end. David Dinkins Jr., thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.